certainly conceivable. But nevertheless, I thought I would gather some information. I talked to members of other clubs. I looked at newsletters from other clubs. I took an accounting of what we're currently doing, and actually that shocked me. We're doing a lot of things. So what I want to do tonight is talk about where we are, what other clubs are doing. I want to ask you what you want. We're all members. We all pay our $20 a year, and for that 20 bucks, I think you expect something. And I'd like to know what it is you expect. Okay?
Jerry,
Yeah.
where did you post this for us to answer?
The RaRa newsletter. The RAG. It's not the first time. We've had, we've put surveys online and nobody answers. We put things in the RAG, nobody answers. It's a consistent trend.
Okay, well, apparently I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah, no, but in any case, no, I actually wrote an article that said, I want to try to figure out where the club is going. And, pardon?
It was on page 1.
Yeah. So, but anyways, and to be honest with you, I don't want you to think I'm losing sleep over this. Everything evolves. I mean, when I was first moved to Rochester, I was a member of RaRa for over 25 years without attending a single meeting. I did it just to support the ham community, or whatever it cost, 10, 15 bucks, whatever it cost. I used to go to the Ham Fest at the Dome every year thinking, man, this is the best thing in the world, this could never end, and it ended. I mean, stuff happens, right? Things change. So I don't know if what's going on with the club is the natural progression of things, or maybe you all want something you're not telling us. And that's why I chose to do this. So, where are we now? We currently have about 507 members. There's 403 full members, so full members actually pay. There's 55 associates, and there's 49 life members who paid at some point, okay? Or I think the president of the club gets an honorary life membership. So the real money is here in the full members. These are people like you and me that pay every year. 500 members is a pretty good number. A few years ago we had 600, so we've dropped a little bit. I don't know why, but we have about 500 members currently. And now I also will tell you, and this is maybe my tainted view of things, but we have 500 members. On a good month, maybe 70 or 80 come to these meetings, which is something like 15% of the membership. We asked for volunteers for this committee. We had one volunteer, which is 1/500th of the membership. Not a lot of participation, okay? Which is okay. I told you for 25 years I didn't do a thing with the club. I just paid my dues.
By the way, question.
Yeah.
How many do you usually have at the auction in November?
I missed it last year. I was
100 or something? 100?
Yeah, we have a ton at the auction. I don't know. Do you know the number? I don't know the number.
No, we don't have an accurate count, but it's over 100.
It's a lot. It really is. And we've had other meetings in the past where we've had over 100. It's just a coincidence. I think that there's only 36 people here tonight because it's August 1st and people are on vacation and doing other things. Even our president isn't here because he's away with his family. So, I mean, life gets in the way.
The thing is, though, we have to remember that it's only been the last few years that RaRa's met during the summer.
That's true. Okay.
RaRa met from September to May for years and years and years and years and years.
That's a really, really good point. I was on the board of directors the year we decided to do that. I don't know what people know about the board of directors, but we meet monthly throughout the year, 12 months. And we mostly spend time thinking about how to make the club better for you. Now, we're talking about 7 or 8, I don't know how many people are on the board, 7 or 8 or 9 guys sitting around a table trying to guess what you want. And this is an opportunity tonight to tell us what you want. If you want us to stop bugging you, if you're happy paying your dues and getting what you're currently getting, then we're good with that, okay? So I took an accounting of what we're currently doing. We have the auction every year, which, as we just said, is wildly popular. Get over 100 people. It's free for members. In December, there's a display or demonstration at the Rochester Museum and Science Center, and I know we have historically had trouble getting people to volunteer for that. In the last year, I was told it was okay, but we do that. We could do a better job, I think, but we do that. The Winterfest in February is free for members. I actually started that a few years back, and what's nice about that is we have an operating station or two, and we've actually recruited hands. We had people come, we had Boy Scouts come one year, we had a family come one year, and all the members became hands. So it's kind of a public relations thing as much as everything else. We also have a food contest, a crock pot cook-off. And it's fun. Had some really good food. In fact, food, was it, okay, food. The first year we did it, I joked and said I'd like crock pot pizza. Did you guys make crock pot, or somebody made crock pot pizza and won?
It
I
wasn't
don't
us.
think, we've done the cheeseburger soup before.
Somebody did crock pot, anyways, it was amazing.
With the chili, that, yeah.
Somebody did crock pot pizza, I thought it was you.
Was
Somebody-
it your brother?
Your brother.
Oh, yeah, my brother Ryan.
Yeah.
He's in Washington State now, so it's
Send-
kind of hard for me
have
to
to
drive
send
it out
some.
here. Yeah.
Because, I picked the most
I'll work
ridiculous
on
thing
that.
I could think of and said I'd like crock pot pizza, and sure enough, he made it and he won the prize. We have, in May, we always have a presentation by someone about the history of RaRa, the history of amateur radio, or radio in general. We have public event support that we provide during the good weather months, the Fairport Regatta, the Tour de Cure, a number of others. We have the Hamfest in June, which has seen a rebirth. I don't know who attended it this year, but it was great. I mean, it's really good.
Yes.
It's not what it was 20 years ago, and it probably never will be, because 20 years ago, we didn't have eBay, we didn't have Craigslist, we didn't have the internet to shop for rigs. It used to be a place where I could actually go and touch, this $1,000 radio I was gonna buy, and then buy it. Yeah.
Idea about how the attendance was at the Hamfest?
570.
And the club made money.
And the club made money.
Yeah.
570, the club made money, and that was coming off of some fairly bad PR from the year before, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see that pass 600-700 this year.
But it was good. The
Are
weather
you
was
talking
so.
about the tax rate?
The what?
Oh, no. that
One
was
year,
back in
back
1980.
in, the year I was treasurer, the Harold Smith said, he had a meeting with the tax people and said there'd be no problem. And then they started kicking people out because.
Oh, that was when I was at the Dome.
Yeah.
Right, people weren't collecting sales tax, and we ended up getting in trouble for that. No, the bad PR you're talking about, we've had a few years that were a little tumultuous. We had it at Barnard's, and one year they actually, well, we're not convinced that they were fair with their accounting of the money that was taken in. We think they took more than they agreed to. Then the following year, they tried to compete with us, and they have their own Hamfest. So there's a bunch of unpleasant stuff going on. But this year, over 500 people, you said?
570.
And we made money.
And we made money.
And that's an amazing thing. We do it because everybody wants one. Making money is like icing on the cake. It's great for the club.
Have we got any sort of negotiations as far as an ongoing contract at
Yep.
Hilton, so we can have it there again, or?
Tim's working on that. Tim, what's the status?
Yeah, short version, the day of the event, I talked to our contact there, Dave Lloyd, and he's got us penciled in for the first weekend in June. I always forget what the actual day is, but the first weekend in June.
The first Saturday in June, yes.
Yes. And I'm going to have a check from the treasurer by tonight or tomorrow, and in the next week or so, I'm gonna head out to Hilton to sign the contracts for next year.
Oh, beautiful.
So we're several months away.
Yeah.
June 1st.
June 1st. Yeah, I mean, it used to be a 3-day event. I mean, things change, and that's perfectly okay. But this, in my opinion, was a big success. The weather was actually
you still
okay.
do
It was
the,
overcast.
road
I
rally?
think Hamfest where it's 90 degrees and sunny,
You still
and I can't wait to go
communication
home.
for the road
It was
rally?
actually good this year. It
No.
was really good. Food vendors were
I
good.
stopped them.
Everything was good.
When they stop doing that?
I'm not sure.
We have the RaRa picnic in July, and it's free for members. And I couldn't go this year because my kids were in town, and I asked my daughters. My daughter came to Phoenix and said, "Hey, want to go to a ham radio picnic?" No. And we have the banquet in September, and we give out awards for various things every year. And we have a great presentation every year. So this is a lot of stuff that the club is currently doing. I will point out, let me see if there's any exceptions. The board of directors coordinates all of this. So whatever the 7 or 8 guys sitting around the table every month, we coordinate all of this. And I'm not saying that because I want you to appreciate what we do. I'm telling you, we could use help, okay? With all of these events, with everything we do, we could use more help. Then I thought, oh my gosh, is that all we're doing? Of course not. We have monthly BE sessions, and because we do it through the Laurel Amateur Radio Club, they're free, so no one pays to take a test. It actually costs the club money, because we've got to mail things and coordinate stuff. We offer license classes. We offer the RaRa Academies, which have seen a rebirth. The last few have been really good. I participated in one here where we built a dipole a couple of months ago, and everyone who attended went home with an antenna. We have the meetings like this with formal programs. We have the monthly raffles, which we just did, and somebody's going home with a new dual band radio, right? Look at that. Because you were number one and the others feel like number two now because they didn't get the radio. We give out an annual technology grant. It used to be a scholarship that we gave a worthy individual, and this year or last year? Is this the second one or the first? This is the first. We accepted applications and we gave an award to
St.
St. Louis School in Pittsburgh. So the kids, they used it in their first robotics endeavor. Yeah. So we actually have, the club actually has an awards committee or a grant review committee that looked at the applications, presented them to the board, and we gave out the money. There's a memberships points program. When you volunteer for things, you get points that are redeemable when you renew your membership. They're redeemable for the banquet. And we used to have t-shirts and stuff. We used to be able to use it for apparel.
You can get gift cards for
Oh, that's right. Gift cards for HRO. And there's a monthly newsletter, and I included the newsletter because a couple of years ago, we were concerned that our newsletter wasn't good enough, that we could make it better. So we looked at newsletters from other clubs, and ours is on top. Ours is great. So this is a lot of stuff, okay? So whenever I think that we're not doing enough for the members, I sat down and put this together, and it turns out there's a lot of stuff, okay? So this is what we're currently doing. What do other clubs do? Now here, I would like you to start thinking about which of these things you would like us to do more of, okay? A lot of clubs focus on topics or activities. Emergency preparedness is a big one. A lot of clubs, I mean, there's obviously areas and races, but a lot of clubs are involved with emergency preparedness, operating events. RDXA takes field day incredibly seriously, and they usually do really, really well, okay? The Lighthouse Lightship Weekend, anything, any activities, there are clubs that are involved and clubs that are focused on that. Contests, operating modes. I mean, we have the Rochester Repeater Association, our Rochester Radio Repeater Association. There are clubs that focus on DX and de-expeditions. There are clubs that focus on public service. There are clubs that develop, like Tapper, that develop hardware and software for digital modes. So these are the sorts of, this is just a sampling, these are the sorts of things that clubs are doing. Anything in this list do you think RaRa should be looking at? Yeah.
Gary, I've been working with the Aries Races Group for a couple of years now, and it looks to me like the folks at the national level, the ARL, are actually doing something on the emergency preparedness side.
Yeah.
They've put out a database, or reworking the database for memberships, people that are involved with Aries and Races, because the problem nationally is Aries is one thing in Monroe County, and it might be something a little different in Wayne County or Genesee County. It's all under the same kind of thing, but it's very loosely organized, it seems like.
And you don't know how to try to tighten that up.
To contact people. So the first step is a database, and they're working towards that. But you'll see in next month's QST magazine, I actually sent it out to the members that are part of the Aries Races Group this month. The article is describing what the plan is, and it looks pretty ambitious to me. They want people to take a lot of classes along the lines of NIMS and things like that, National Incident Management System. But and the communications for the ARL Class 4 emergency preparedness is also included in that. But just to say that you're going to see something if you're a QST reader about that. Apparently at Dayton, I didn't go to Dayton this year, but there was seminars that were given out. So at the national level, the of the ARL seems to have some sort of an interest towards
Good.
focused of a standardized emergency preparedness effort for Aries members.
Didn't, a few years ago, didn't they require classes? It seems to me they, maybe after 9/11, I don't remember, but they implemented a requirement for classes.
Yeah, it's under the ICS is the acronym, Incident Command System.
Yeah, yeah.
Or NIMS, National Incident Management System.
Yeah.
If anybody's been volunteer emergency preparedness, whether it's working with fire departments or EMS services in general, probably have done that kind of thing. Paul's pulled out something that's available to people that are kind of interested right now. It's a Homeland Security guide.
Oh.
This is available for download. I don't know how many of the hard copies you can find anymore, but if anybody wants more information about that, drop me a note, I'll
Yeah.
give it to you. There's a lot of national channel indications, interoperability information,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's
No,
out.
that's important stuff.
So just for information purposes, look to September, there'll probably be a lot of information on the.
I have an objection to the AARL training program.
What's that?
Money. I am
No, no, no.
retired.
The NIMS is free. NIMS is free. You do that through,
Yeah,
actually
you can do
through
the NIMS
FEMA.
through-
Last time it went in.
But there isn't an econ class that you can actually take through ARRL, which does cost money, but
Yes.
not all areas requires it.
Yeah, I think.
You know what the
come
cost is?
towards the future,
I think
you
it's like
might see
$90
some
or
things.
so.
It's significant.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
95.
90
I'm not
bucks.
even a member of
Well,
ARRL.
so that's something, if you don't like the ARRL charges, talk to them. I mean, that's nothing we can do about.
Yeah, I
And
know.
most areas and stuff like that don't require that. The other thing I was gonna compound on that is, yes, they are actually creating a database, but one of the other things I've been reading about is they're actually changing how the areas is gonna be reporting to the ARRL.
Yeah.
And they're completely and totally restructuring all of areas and,
Good.
RACES included in that.
So I'll have a comment to make about that. Ed, you had your hand.
Terry, several years ago, RaRa had an MOU with Monroe Aries Races.
Right.
Do we still have that, or?
We
is it-
probably do we, Jim? Yeah, we probably do. So the Digital Communication Association of Parrington has an MOU with Monroe County. We have a D-Star repeater and an analog repeater on Baker Hill. We have an MOU that says if you guys need it for emergency use, it's yours. You have your hand up. Yeah.
I like the idea more operating events.
So
I like, they said they would sign who's doing special events.
Let me get to that. I want to finish up the Aries thing. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's really important. Yeah, Bill.
Finish up the Aries thing.
Because you want to talk about operating events.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
No.
So the only thing, my own comment about Aries and the training, I think the training's a good thing. I don't typically like training. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be school. On the other hand, it's serious stuff. And we're talking about health and welfare people, so it's serious stuff. I will tell you, I will readily admit that I'm old and crotchety now. But when I was younger and crotchety, we had an event in Rochester. I won't tell you what it is because some of you may have participated. I mean, you know, it wasn't like a snowstorm. It wasn't a snowstorm or something. So they activated an emergency net, and people's operating skills were they were beyond atrocious. I mean, I used to listen to the Sunday night net, and people were more disciplined than when we really needed it. People just turned to crap. So I think training's a good thing.
So we do a Thursday night net,
Yeah.
and control for it, 7 o'clock on Thursday nights, 14661, you're welcome to.
Yeah. I think everybody should.
Again, we average between, on a good week, we've had 15.
Yeah.
This month, we're trying to emphasize, or this summer, we're trying to emphasize outside operations, so take your HT out, walk outside,
Cool.
take your radio in the car, you know.
You know, the reason we have amateur radio is to provide a pool of trained operators to help in the event of emergencies.
Exactly.
So I think that's huge. Like I said, I'm not a big believer in all sorts of training, but this is something where you really need. You really do. Yeah, Bill.
Remember,
7 o'clock.
remember too, that the 444.45 is linked with
That's right.
6.1 and actually has more receivers voted in on the UHF side than it does on the 2-meter side. So that you'll,
It's
depending
transparent
on
to
where
the- to
you
the
are.
net, So,
Huh?
it's transparent to the net, I mean, I hear
Yeah,
both sides.
Right, exactly, but what I'm saying is, you should publicize that people can get in from the UHF side as well. Because that actually, in my opinion, has better coverage than the VHF side does, so.
Yeah, Bill.
Well, it's not even an aside, it's a major point, said very quickly. This is why Congress continues to give us our band, period.
Yeah,
Failing this, we have no reason to exist.
right.
Okay?
No, it's
All
absolutely
right. But I would like to, later get on to the thing about, having other events and whatnot.
Can you get him a mic, please?
When you were looking at the other, when you were looking,
It's a hot night.
when you were looking at the other clubs around the nation and whatnot,
Yeah.
did you notice, it's not a leading question, did you notice whether they had this many activities like we do?
Well, I didn't, and to be honest, okay, so you saw I had 2 slides of activities. This talk was written, it was in the can, and I said, no, I forgot to list VE sessions. So I started a new slide and I populated it, right? And I suspect I missed stuff. So I didn't even know what we were doing until I sat down twice to think about it. And we're doing an amazing number
So
of
do you
things.
think that other clubs generally do this? I mean,
No.
my first non-academic response would be, oh, we're doing much more than anybody else. That's a very dangerous thing to say. So a lot of other clubs might be doing a lot, as much as we're doing, and maybe even more. Once you get to that point, you go, well, we're already doing a lot. Does it really make any difference whether we need to be doing more than someone else or not? Okay. But there's another level of this, and that is it possible that Rochester is that's pleonasm, is a unique place?
Of course
Because you have Aries, you have RDXA, you have a lot of different clubs doing a lot of different things, picking up the slack on a lot of these events. And maybe it is the strength of not just RaRa, but the entire community, not because we're good, but because there's so many people here in amateur radio and the history, the technological history of this place, that we just have what we have. Why would we want to beat ourselves over the head and say, we're not very good, we need to do more and more and more, when in fact, there are other clubs that are doing all of these very important things, and maybe that's part of the strength of what's going on here. I mean, we might not realize it, but maybe it's the case that the existence of the other clubs, their very existence and what they do, helps keep us healthy and alive. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, and most of the members of those other clubs are also members of RaRa, so it's not exclusive.
Yeah.
It's not like if you're an RDXA, you're not in RaRa. Usually they're in both clubs.
I don't know if what I've just said has some value or anything, but I'd like to ask, what are the other 400 members?
Where are they?
Yeah, well, where are they every year? I mean, I don't know.
It's a good question. So let me tell you, you bring up a very good point. So my perception that we should be doing more might be incorrect. I think we have 500 members, and on a good month, 70 people come. I'm thinking, geez, where are the other 430? Maybe they want to come. Maybe there's nothing we can do to get 500 people at a meeting, right? So maybe we're doing a good job, and we just don't realize it. But we sit around, the board of directors sits around thinking, what else can we do? What can we do? How can we provide value for your membership? And we think we need to add value because 85% of the club doesn't come to the meetings. Maybe they don't want to.
But I do think that 400 members continue to be members for 2 or 3 singular things.
Yeah, it's true.
And one is the RaRa rag.
The rag, we also have a surge in membership around the Hamfest because you get in Hamfest for free. No, there's and everybody has their own reason. I told you, I did nothing for 25 years just to support amateur radio in Rochester. I expected nothing from the club. I got nothing from the club. That's back when we used to pay to get into the Hamfest. Yet I paid my money because I was doing it for the good of the hobby. Before, Jay.
As far as the amount of people attending the meetings, we see the same thing in Drumlins and Sire. You get, the core group of people that, with us, it's mainly the board of directors, people on the board, everybody shows up. And then the other members that will attend, pretty much all the meetings when they're there. But yeah, there's just a part of membership in any club that will go to events. I've even seen this in the Finger Lakes 4x4 club when I was a member. we'd have people that would attend the meetings regularly, and then other ones you'd only see at, events.
Right. So maybe if we only had 100 members, I'd be ecstatic that we have 70 that come to the meetings every month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hold on just a second.
I was gonna say, I have two things.
Yeah.
Number one, I was part of a car club as well. And there was like 3 different groups that were actually in the car club. You had the ones that were like really diehard, I have to be technical about how to restore this car and all that kind of stuff. You had the people who are touring, who love to go out on tours and stuff like that. And then you have the ones that just showed up at the meeting and that's all they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is different dynamics in the club. But as a new person, I've only been here in Rochester for 1.5 years, okay? One of the things I've observed is RaRa is actually kind of like a hub for information about what's going on in a lot of other clubs. Because almost every month, and it was even done during the main part of the meeting, if you will, what's going on?
So that gets back to the newsletter. It's worth the price of admission just to get the newsletter to keep up with what's next.
And if you
I buy
actually,
that, that's good.
if you actually enjoy, as an example, VHF, there's the VHF group
Right.
that you can go over and help out with. There's the DX club
Right.
that you can go over and
Right.
get help or.
So maybe that is the purpose of RaRa, to act as the nucleus of everything that's going on.
Maybe
Yeah,
we're like the social network of clubs.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't really do anything, but.
Now I gotta worry about fake news and foreign interference. We're gonna have an election in October, and if I find out that the Russians were involved.
Well, do you, as a board member, I'd ask the question, do you think that RaRa should be encouraged more of the other clubs that participate, that if you want to get listed in the RAG or whatever on a regular basis,
think having
someone
people-
should come here and speak every month or two and
That's
say what's
one of the
going
things
on?
I was gonna bring up is I would, as a club, encourage the other clubs to say, hey, look, we'd love to have somebody come out here and speak about what your club does. As an example, the VHF group, what are the modes that you work with? What are the different
Good
things that you
idea.
deal with?
It's a great idea.
And do a detailed thing of all the different things.
What is it, Brad?
All of this is just, I've been in this club for, I don't even know how many years. And this is
I'm
the
going for 100.
same
You
old
better.
stuff,
Yep.
same old thing,
So-
nothing changes.
Well,
Right?
so-
That's the problem. is
So
that-
don't misunderstand. I'm not complaining.
Oh, no,
I'm
no,
looking for
I'm
input.
just
If you
stating
want
the
if you
club
want
is in
something
a
different,
rut.
we can do it.
The club is in a rut.
Okay.
It happens, all right?
Yeah.
I've seen it for the last, God, I don't know. The thing is that this is a great list, but out of that, there's nothing that's really stands out for any member.
So what can we
You're going with this, I pay $20 a year to join a club, what should I give them? That's not what you should be looking at.
What should we look at?
Don't worry about that lousy $20. It goes into the treasury and that's it.
Okay.
The thing is that nothing ever comes out of that treasury.
Well, that's not true.
Oh, you haven't seen much.
Well,
all right?
there's the Winter
thing
Fest,
is-
there's the Summer
Yeah,
Picnic.
the Winter
There's
Fest.
the banquet that the club
there's what,
underwrites.
you don't even have hot dogs, this year was, I went.
You know?
I just wasn't happy this
I
time.
actually have a slide that
Right?
details the complaints
And
we've heard.
I've offered to, I haven't offered to do the picnic part, but I've done other stuff, and it's the same old stomp and trash, you know?
Yeah.
I don't wanna be the dead one here, but that's just the way I see it.
Well,
I've
that's
seen
fine.
it for 20, 30 years, I bet.
In
I'm
there-
But if it exists for another 50 years, and it's the same thing, we're still alive.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that we're just there.
So
We're
I
not,
appreciate.
where is the, we could have, get-togethers with the new people. I know about the education things once a month, all right? Yeah, okay, that's all well and good, but it's a core person that's doing it, all right? Now, we could have, the people were talking about, oh, we need to learn how to solder.
Yeah, we
right?
did that.
So did the club buy a bunch of soldering irons and go up? No.
No.
What they did is they said, you have to buy your soldering iron, you have to buy your wire, you have to, no.
Okay,
It's a club.
let's not-
Club,
let's
no,
wait.
wait, hear me out.
I'm trying.
You buy, you get Weller soldering guns for next to nothing, all right? Or soldering irons. And you have a bunch of that, you have that for the club.
Okay.
The club property.
Okay, all that stuff. You should have solder, you should have all that kind of stuff, because you get new people. The problem is you got new people that are coming out of the classes, and you don't see them here.
Okay.
They're not here. And because those people have no clue what to do with ham radio.
So in everything you said, the construction part is by soldering iron?
It's a start, it's a start.
All right, we can do
It's
that.
a start, all
We can do
right?
that.
I was just gonna say, I've only been a member 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Multiple things on that list stand up to me.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing. You have 500 people, everybody's got different needs and wants and expectations, for sure.
And the other point I wanted to make, when I took over as membership secretary, I was quite surprised to find a whole series of names I'd never heard of. I didn't know these guys were members, and they're really active. They're in public service events. They don't come to the meeting, but they do something else. So I think there are more than the 70 who show up for meetings
Yeah, I
who
think
are active members.
I think that's true. I
Yeah.
think it's
Can
true.
I
Yeah,
throw,
Let me say something else about clubs. It's a sociological thing, okay? And I think it holds true.
Is this the academic coming out?
Yes,
now?
it's the aspect.
Okay, yeah.
The history of this city, I want to make this as short as I can. 50 minutes, 50-minute hour?
No.
you've already used 45 of your minute.
But historically, this is a high-tech city, since the Flower City, since the water power. High-tech city, it's always been a high-tech city. Today it's a huge high-tech city. If you take a look at the people in this room, there's a goodly number who are engineers or who are related to engineering in high-tech, okay? But if you look at clubs such as, I'll do this random, let's say Kentucky, let's say Central Illinois, let's say Arizona, let's say Central California. You're not going to find that kind of mix. You're going to find people who are in amateur radio for other reasons. And I would present to you that the people who are more active in doing those kinds of things that gives them their life. It's a different kind of excitement to them than it is to us. Right? So if we want to have everything, all cats are gray at night, right? If we want to be gray like all those other cats, I think, well, be my guest trying to, because we don't have the sociological base. We have a different base here, and I think we have to recognize that and go with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Someone once told me that in Rochester we have more hams per capita than most places, and I don't know if that's true or not. Because of Harris, because of Kodak, Xerox.
Did anyone ever poll the FCC to see what the demographic is for our area? How many hams are actually in?
Yeah, I pulled the whole database about 6 months ago and sorted it out, and we haven't had time to dig through it and look at the overall number of hams in the area. I think within the 25-mile radius or 30-mile radius is about 3,000, 3,400.
That's an enormous number.
That was my point.
Right.
We say we have 500 here, but it's just like the gentleman was speaking, that there are a lot of people that come to specific things because they have a specific
Right.
need.
Right.
If you're talking DX, I may not be talking the same lingo because I don't understand me yet.
No, that's
I'm a
a-
non-engineer, and I like to talk about things that are doing with emergency preparedness, but,
Right.
that I think is a good point, is that we have a lot of people in our area, and I would say that with the way that the radio price has gone down dramatically in the last few years, there's a lot of people that own a radio that don't have a license on it also, probably.
And there are a lot of people who have a license who don't know how to do a radio at all.
Right. They own a radio and don't know what
And
to
I
do.
present to you that they're not here because we haven't helped them get on the air.
Okay.
I think that's.
That's a good point.
Isn't that why we have the mentor program?
Well, it's interesting, we have an Elmer program, there's, I don't know how many dozens of people have signed up for it, I don't think they've ever, I may be wrong by one, I don't think they've ever been contacted for help. Is that true?
I disagree with that.
I disagree with that as well,
Oh.
because I actually talked to Tim.
Okay, so that's one. No, but really, we've talked about it, it's like, this, we have a catalog of people who are willing to help, and nobody ever asked for help.
So I think that
I've
widely
had a host of
varies.
people call me. I've had a host of people call me over the years.
Yeah, okay.
Widely varies on who it is that you're talking about
The Elmer?
contacting the Elmers.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that I know a lot of the people on that list and would feel comfortable contacting them. And I know some people have some stories from the past of other great Elmer success stories. But we don't live in a generation anymore where parents drop their kids off at a stranger's house for the afternoon and say, what could go wrong here? Like, so that is important to have that out there, but I think we have to do more active, centralized support.
Can I answer that for a second? Well, one of the things that we talked about this at the board meeting, looking at doing was taking the Elmer's page and actually making it ask a question. So the Elmer's can look at the question, what area it's in, and then come back. So it's a little more kind of up to date, like a help desk. So those are lots of things that we're looking at doing on the website. I guess I'd just like to chime in. My experience here is fairly limited. I've first joined the club about 12 years ago. I've been an active member now for about 3. And the webmaster for the last year. And I think this is really all about taking your interest and your knowledge and communicating it to other people that are within the club and within the community to serve the community. We have lots of satellite groups that have lots of skills and things and activities. We can't be all things to all people, but I think what we should do is we should facilitate. That's why we started the academy again, passing knowledge around and passing information around and giving people the ability and a forum to both present and learn. So.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned earlier that a lot of people go to the classes, but then they don't end up as being active members of the club. And I would like to see if we could do something to take those people. So the licensing club, the licensing courses become more than just how do you pass the test. You actually get on the air while you're there, so that you're not mic shy when you've got your ticket. You actually know.
What's the average age of people who pass music?
So I was on the DE team for 7 years. I would guess 25.
Right.
Shocking.
Right.
Shocking.
Right. Well, ARRL said a few years ago that the average age of entering camps was 35.
Yeah. No,
So we're not talking about kids being dropped off. I mean,
Right, they're not 14-year-olds, they're 30-year-olds, so it's a little bit different. But honestly, I'm shocked at how many younger people, I mean, from my perspective, that's, 50 or less. But how many younger people, I mean, really, college kids? RIT has a tech club. These are people who provide support for, I don't even know what. Whoever's in charge of it, I should go shake his hand. He requires every kid in the tech club to get a hand license. That's brilliant. That's great. Okay. Yes. Yes.
We've talked about the people getting licensed and not becoming members. One of the things that we're working on instituting is when someone's waiting for their exam to be graded, we give them a survey that says, hey, we want to know sort of why you're here, what you're interested in, what we could possibly do for you, what things outside of amateur radio directly are you involved in, where amateur radio might be applicable. I got into amateur radio because CBs are garbage, and there are other people that you can convince them the same thing. That just started, and then we don't have testing sessions in the summer. So that just started recently. Now, the other side to that is that it takes time to tabulate that data. But the idea would be if someone says, I'm really interested in public service, it means that we make sure that Mike Moore reaches out to them every single time there's a new event coming up. Right. Or, I think building stuff is really cool. We reach out to them about every RaRa Academy that has to do with construction. And that's what I'm hoping will help us drive some membership. But collecting that data, tabulating that data, and reaching out to all of those people, that takes a lot of time and effort. And we're kind of doing a lot. And putting these planning meeting agendas is hard too. So there's a lot going on, and we're trying. And some of it are new ideas that happened in this year that will take time to see the fruit of.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
It's just an idea. Talking about people having problems when they're new getting onto the air. I know other clubs out of state. I was looking at like Arizona because I'm thinking about possibly moving there when we're done here. A lot of clubs that I've looked into actually have a club station. And I know that
We'll get to that.
I know that they actually have a club station
We'll get to
with
that.
the club.
Yeah.
But having something where you actually have Elmers showing how to get on all of that.
It's one of my slides.
Okay.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
Two things, I know with Drumlins and SCIARC, we do testing sessions before the meetings.
Right.
Now, I don't think that'll work out too well
Right.
for here, but that's one thing we do, when people pass or fail or whatever, if they show up, we invite them to stick around. for the
So we
meeting.
do a couple of things. I don't know, I haven't attended a BE session in about a year, but we used to have a shocking number of people every month, 15 to 20 people taking tests. Shocked me. You know, people talk about the hobby dying. It's not. It's thriving. It's bigger than it's ever been. The other thing, to get members, we were actually promoting the fact that unlicensed hams can join at a reduced rate. And we basically tell them you have 4 days to get your call sign. If you want to join, you're going to save $5 or whatever. But I'm not sure that simply filling the club with bodies does any good for the club. I mean, it puts money in the coffers, but we need participants. We need people who do things. But anyways, that's my personal opinion.
Well,
So I look, yeah.
The issue is can we get these people on the air?
That's the most important. I don't care if they join the club. I want to see them on the air.
Exactly. Can we get them on the air?
Right.
And everything else will take care of itself.
Right.
Can we get them on the air?
So maybe we need a RaRa Academy for get on the air. Right?
Not just
Maybe
the
we
academy,
can-
but something that's available year round.
Well, maybe do it regular. Maybe every quarter we do a RaRa Academy get on the air.
I was thinking like an Elmer that you can contact and actually have.
Yeah, we
set
have.
up a
Well, I
contact.
think the Elmer should contact them.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, no,
think-
not just that, but I'm saying is if there's other people who may have done it prior, right? That you
I think the owner should
and say,
contact
"Hey,
them, and I think the phone conversation should start with, we're calling about your credit card. We have a way to reduce your debt. With their phone number that appears on the, okay, never mind.
Well, we had talked about breakout sessions here in addition to the academy, but we're concerned that it'll cut into the general meeting, perhaps using one of the auxiliary rooms. I don't, if you remember last year, I think on 2 different meetings, Tim Brown had set up the 450 in the back and a portable antenna, but the noise here is horrible. So we weren't actually able to make any contacts. So if that's something that people want to do, if people can help, I think that would be another way to get activity, to be able to see other people's rigs, to be able to actually perhaps make a contact or see somebody making contacts and get some hands-on.
A couple of years ago, in July, I believe, we did a show and tell where people brought their rigs in. They, we went out in the parking lot and looked at their mobile installations. It was kind of cool. I think we did it 2 years in a row, and then it kind of faded. But that was kind of fun. Really was.
Gary?
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, you had mentioned the Lighthouse Weekend.
Yeah, it's coming up.
And that is coming up on August 18th and 19th.
Yep.
And Tim Brown and Dave Timmons are going to spearhead the special event station at the Charlotte Lighthouse.
Cool.
And there is a sign up on the web for that.
Okay?
So in fact, we do that. Is that
do.
right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that belongs to an activity now.
That is a
on
RaRa.
Yeah.
I should put it on my
Well,
slides.
that's what I was
Yes, it
thinking,
is.
and I was asking
Yeah.
myself.
And there
I
is,
told you, I certainly miss things. The club does a
No, you
lot
put
of
it
stuff.
on there, but you put it on
I-
what other people do.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
put it on what other people do, you're right. Yeah.
We keep talking about Elmers, but the thing is we're not paying attention to the concept that we have these classes, and it's not necessarily the Elmers, but the classmates that might actually make the difference. If there's some form of bonding, something done that could get them tied together, to get them to communicate with each other. They're all learning at the same rate, and that might actually help in regards to, okay, why don't we try making you my first contact?
Right.
Right after we get the license and everything.
I've actually thought about this a great deal because I'm an educator. And I think that our license class, generally speaking, license classes are aimed at teaching people to pass the exam. Not to learn the material, not how to operate radios, but to pass the exam. Wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful if every class involved somebody brought in a radio and actually, this is the principle you're learning today, here's how it works on HF or on VHF, whatever.
Sure.
My biggest enemy in life is time. Like when Scott said breakout sessions, these meetings are wonderful. If they were an hour longer, I would never come to another one again. If the breakout sessions meant the meeting lasted, I couldn't do it. So we have, I think our license classes are 10 weeks long. They really can't be longer. Nobody will come, right? And if each session was an hour longer so they could play radio, I don't think people would come.
Right, well, I'm not saying
Go on a
necessarily
different
even something like that.
Yeah.
During our classes, because RaRa was the one who actually got me into it because of the fact I got tired of him talking about CB radio and how he hated it. Okay, so what we ended up doing was we ended up having a 15-minute break where they just talk to each other. You
Well,
know,
maybe we need to do something like that. You're right.
You know,
Maybe
we took
peer
the-
support.
We took the class in what, 2007, 2008?
Yeah.
It was Brad, W1YX,
Yeah.
teaching it. And he taught us more than just passing the test.
Yeah.
Which was important, because not only did we learn the material, we also got a good idea. He said, well, when you get on the air, here's how it's really gonna work.
Yeah.
You know, and
No,
he
so-
gave us some practical knowledge.
It's interesting what you're saying because, you know, while I was preparing this talk, and my question is, what should the club be doing? I looked at our mission, and actually we're doing this. We provide services, especially with things like emergency communications, communications at public service events. We promote, this basically says education. We do that through RaRa Academies. We do that through the licensing classes. And the part that you were just mentioning is encouraging camaraderie. Give people an opportunity to talk to each other. We do that at these meetings. You know, we take the 20-minute breaks. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know. But we do that. So this is our mission statement, and the rest of it says that we assure success by having an organization with a focus on its goals. And right tonight, I'm trying to determine what our goals ought to be. That's why I want your feedback. A system of leadership development, I'm not sure. Usually it's whoever is the sucker who's the vice president then gets tapped to be the president. I'm not sure that's leadership development or coercion. Financial management, to be honest, the club's doing okay with money. I understand that there was a time when the club was broke and 2 members generously loaned money out of their pockets to the club to keep it afloat. We're at the other end of that now. We got money in the bank. We're doing okay. In a vision toward and dedication to public service, we certainly do that. So when I look at the mission, we're doing it, okay, which is good. I've seen many organizations stray from their mission, and it's hard to get them back in line. We're doing it. We get feedback from members, and I group these into complaints about activities. One of my favorite was at the summer picnic. Someone actually wrote an email this long saying, you know, the mustard and the ketchup got all like, they weren't neat. And I wrote back and very politely said it would have taken less time to neaten them up yourself than it would to write this email. And another member of the board of directors wrote a slightly nastier email. They used a whole lot of the same word that starts with F. And then proposed that he does something that's anatomically impossible. But nevertheless, complaints. We get complaints about the leadership. When I look for volunteers to help me do this, same mistake happened tonight. When someone wanted Mike Moore's email address, someone said casey2nm@awrl.org. I listed my address as ka1njl@awrl.org, and somebody very vocally and loudly said, you know, it's awrl.net. Are you doing that so people won't send you email? I asked you to send the email so you wouldn't send the email, right? Good complaint. Then, complaints about the Hamfest. Everybody complains about the Hamfest. Nobody steps up to do it. You did it, not quite single-handedly, but you were shorthanded this year, right?
We're shorthanded the last 2 years.
And when we had it on RIT's campus in the parking lot, Bill Marinucci did it single-handedly. Nobody helped him. So we don't get volunteers. Yet people are, the first year we did it at RIT in the field house, the complaints we got were just amazing. Just amazing. Why was it so hot? Why is the parking lot so far away from the building? So, you know, it's just like everything else. I don't think we got any positive comments that year. And the club made more money, I think, than it ever did in the history of Broward. And that Hamfest got everybody complaining. So I'm okay with complaints, just like Brad was telling us all the things you don't like about the club. I want to hear solutions. Give me a solution. It's easy to bitch, okay? It's really hard to spend 30 seconds to think about a solution, and people don't do it. So volunteer, make things better. And there's very little of that. There really is. So why do we have a club? I mean, we actually talked about this. The board of directors, why do we have a club? Why do people join RaRa? Why do we have a club? We have a club for the members. One of the themes for a number of years at the board of directors, and it has been ongoing for a long time now, is what can we do to make membership happy? What can we do to provide services, activities, things that you want? So the first reason is for the members. It's actually the only reason. Okay, it's the only reason we exist. The board of directors, gets nothing at all, right? In the past, we used to offer beer afterwards, but we paid for it out of our pockets. Now we don't even do that. But we have a club for you all and the other 400 and something members that aren't here tonight. So what do you want? What can we do to make the club better? You've already given us some suggestions, and we'll talk about these. The last one is a club station. So what happened a couple of years ago, things were worse than they are now. The Hamfest wasn't going well, people weren't coming to meetings, it was just kind of lousy. And the club actually, and I'll say this on the next slide, I think, we actually considered dissolving the club. I mean, what's the point? If people don't volunteer, people don't participate, people don't come to meetings, what's the point? And we thought about things we could do, and one of the things that we thought about is a club station. We looked at our bank account. Turns out if we were to dissolve the club, because we're an ARRL affiliate, we'd have to give all of our assets to the ARRL, and we couldn't see that happening. That's local money, we couldn't see it happening. So someone said, why don't we get a club station going? We have to pay rent, and we actually looked for real estate. It would cost about $500 a month, and we actually suggested, let's give it a try. In 1 year, if we did that, if we try to pilot for 1 year, it costs $5,000, which is $5,000, but it's a fraction of what we have in the bank. Why don't we do it? And then we didn't, in part because we had trouble finding real estate, but also because we want to ask you all, would you use a club station? What do you think, Brad?
You gotta get those backs up. 3 years ago, when I was on the board, I proposed a location for a station.
Mm-hmm.
It had all the factors that were needed. Bus route, 24-hour access, handicap access, privacy in a room, electric, water, heat, all included. Right? $300 a month, no contract, 3 months, see how it flew over. Liked it, great. We just pay another $300 for the 4th month. 3 months he was to be guaranteed. Mm-hmm. That was my thing for him. Mm-hmm. All right, and then so we had 3 months to put the thing together. Could have put it together in a month. All right, and we would have had a place. You could put a little refrigerator in there. The cost of the club would have been probably maybe $200 or $300 in coax, some antennas, a little refrigerator, and that's it. Now my proposal also included putting in more than one antenna, obviously. Bring over a number of coaxes and call it bring your own radio. There's a lot of people that have radios in a closet that can't be put on the air because they can't put up an antenna. Mm-hmm. Bring your own radio to the club station, hook up to one of the antennas. We had anything we wanted in this place. The guy kept asking, are we going to do it, are we going to do it, are we going to do it?
Where was it located?
Right down over on in Chile Center, right at the old Chile Bowl place is called Berkshire Hathaway Discover now, mm-hmm. and it's got I think Rochester Fitness in there.
Okay, where did that idea go?
I was on the board at the time. I don't want to go
Yep.
back over old history, but we
Yep.
did consider it. But there were a number of reasons. I
Okay.
don't want to get into right now. It just wasn't.
It was never brought in front of the membership. It never made it out of the board.
That's the important point. It was not brought in front of the membership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, would people, when I said, would you use a club station, you said yes?
Absolutely. I'm brand new, I'm a general.
Yeah.
I've been a general since 2015, with a caveat, or no, 2016, with a caveat. I've made one contact on HF,
Mm-hmm.
and that was actually with his rig at the picnic last year.
Yeah.
Or at Winterfest
Well,
last year.
we own
Weren't you
equipment.
with me?
Maybe it was with you, yeah, sorry, it was with you.
940, yep.
Yep.
The club owns equipment. We've had,
And that was my one and only contact.
Yeah.
I just purchased my rig like 2 days ago, which I'm hoping will come in the mail here by the end of this week. But
What'd you get?
I got a Yaesu 991A.
oh, nice radio.
So
Very nice radio.
I went all out because this is probably going to be one of my last rigs I'm going to be able to buy for a long time.
Yeah,
So
sure.
but what I was going to say though is it would be nice, because if I go to a club station, especially with Elmer's and stuff there, I can ask questions and maybe even find out new ways of doing things.
Right. So, I also see the value of having a club station. We could do operating activities. We could do contests. We could do whatever, just informal. Hey, third Saturday of the month, everybody show up. We're gonna work DX or.
And I don't care about paying like $5, $10 to go use the club station.
So, I think we need. I don't know how to poll membership, because if we put a poll online, nobody responds.
Yeah, that's the
I
problem.
suggest you don't do that.
I know it doesn't
I
work.
suggest you just do it.
Well, that was my suggestion. So let me get back to that. Let me get back to that, Bill. That was my suggestion. So what do you want us to do? Are you happy with what you get from the club now? It sounds like pretty much everybody is, right? So maybe we're wasting our time thinking about how to make it better if it's good enough now. Club station.
Realistically, it's what you make of it.
The club or the club station?
Everything.
Yeah, well, it's life. Yeah, you're right.
Because people are going to come to the events that interest them. They're going to do the things that they want to do. They'll squeeze things in. They'll make time for it. He mentioned to me yesterday, hey, what's on the agenda for tomorrow? What is the meeting about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just really the info.
So maybe it's not a problem.
Don't get me wrong, though. I think for any business, corporation, club, whatever, it should always be trying to make things a little bit better.
Because we are all three of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, trying to always top yourself from the year before.
Right.
So you should never stop going, well, what does the membership want?
And that's what we're trying to do. We try surveys online. They're just a waste of electrons. They just don't work. But that's why we're doing this tonight. We want feedback. Sounds like several of you are in favor of a club station. Are there any other activities that you would participate in?
Right along with that operating event.
Yeah.
Here's an idea. I mean, I'm not going to suggest this that we do this, but it's in a concept. I'm trying to. What if we say, okay, not a lot of people do Morse code, but you know what? That's not the problem. Let's make these real small transceivers. I mean, Lilliputian power. And let's get about 20 of us with, 20 owners or 20 people who want to do it just for the hell of it.
Why not? Why not?
And all of us go with 500 milliwatts on different frequencies, and we all go to Minden Ponds Park, and we put up antennas. And what we all try to do is to work everybody else in the park.
That's a great idea. I laughed when you said it because I can just see everybody has them at their place at these meetings. They're all talking to each other about the presenter, right? I work at RIT, so I have deaf kids in all my classes. They're always talking to each other, and I don't know what they're saying. It's like, who's stiff in front of the room? He doesn't know what he's talking about. I get very paranoid about that. But I like that. You also suggested, Bill, I think a few months ago you suggested work all Monroe County parks. It was your idea.
My idea is it's called McPOTA.
Yes.
Right.
It's cool.
Monroe County Parks on the Air.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So that the board of directors actually is trying to get
Rochester Parks on the Air and then work to Monroe County.
Right. We're trying to get monthly operating events going, and we're actually getting ideas. That would be fun. I mean, I became a ham to operate, not for any other reason. I became a ham to operate, and I enjoy operating.
This is what you do to honor the people who become new hams. And you don't do one every 3 years.
Right. Let me suggest something. Hold on just a second. Let me suggest something, Bill. One of the problems I complained about already was the board of directors is doing everything. I encourage you to run with that micro-powered CW thing. I think that's a great idea. If you propose it and there's more than 2 or 3 people who want to do it, we'll do a RaRa Academy. We'll have a kit building Saturday. We'll build them, get them running, and then start doing it.
You get 2 people out there, it's a
Well,
success.
I know.
Because then you got kids
Well,
though.
we also put up there's an operating page now on the website for that specific purpose, but we have to have people who will organize these things. It's on the left-hand side.
Yeah. So just as an aside, my first radio was a Sears HT on CB channel 14. My parents gave me one. Sad. No one else to talk to. Okay. Anyways, so we actually discussed dissolving the club. I already mentioned that, so I don't want to harp on it. So, how can we thrive? I mean, what we need is for people to volunteer. Bill, I only picked on you, you suggested it. I think it's a great idea, but somebody's gotta do it. You know, ideas, flow through the air all the time, but people have to take action. I don't know if I would do that. I think it's a great idea with my Morse code. I haven't done it in like forever. But there's a lot of people that would do it. Everybody needs to help us identify solutions. I mean, telling me that the condiments are messy, really, I don't have the patience or the bandwidth to listen to that crap. If someone says, next year, I'll volunteer to keep the condiments neat, I pat them on the back, right?
Gary?
Yeah.
Back in the early 90s, and I just bring this up because at 111 Westfall, we did have a club station.
We did.
And back in the early 90s, the last class that I taught, the last CW class, we brought the class into the ham station, and I called CQ on 40 meters, and I made a contact.
Yeah. I think that's great.
And so they could hear what that would sound like.
Right. I think that's great.
And of course, they already knew about the QSO format because the sample tests that we worked with were all based on a QSO format.
Right.
But I just thought I'd mention.
From ever entering that building again. What's that?
We're gonna be able to get back into our club station. No.
At 111 Westfall? No.
Why?
9/11.
9/11. Security. So I really encourage people to propose solutions, say, hey, it would be great if we did this, and I'd be happy to spearhead it. I'd love to hear that. Read that email. Get involved. I mean, really, the RaRa Academies have been very successful. People are loving them. If you have something you want to contribute, like if you want to do a kit building to make, Lilliputian-powered CW rigs, do it. Volunteer to work the museum. I didn't go this year, but the reports I heard was pretty lousy. And that's because we're trying to get people to man it for 3 days, and we have 3 volunteers, and it just doesn't work. And tell us what you want. I want to hear what you want. I don't want to hear what we're doing wrong. I want to hear what you want, and that'll make things better. All right, that's my last slide. The ideas that I've heard tonight, sounds like a club station would be viable. It's going to cost the club money, but we got it, right? And it's not going anywhere. I heard that that we should do more operating activities, and I thoroughly agree with that. And anything else that I missed? I mean, Tim, you were taking notes, right? Good. Yeah. How presidential of you.
Let me add one thing at club station concept. I mean, hasn't it been quite a while now that we were able to do HF remote through internet?
Oh,
Yeah, well, that would be one of the things I think that would just come along for the ride is that the station would be able to be remoted to.
So we tried that.
Let me go further here. We're always talking about costing 300 or 500 or whatever. Somebody here has got to be willing to take a rig and a computer and set it up with a dipole on their property,
right,
and let it run. And those who qualify to get on, you have to qualify, come on, you just asked. Sure. Can get on, and you can at least have that.
Right.
And at that point, you can start to use that for Elmer classes, for licensed classes, for all kinds of other things.
Right.
I don't see
So,
why that hasn't happened.
Jim knows all too well. We had a radio at 111 Westfall Road, and it was probably 2 years, Jim. It was brought up every month at the board of directors meetings. So what's going on? Well, we need a piece of coax run, and we've put in a request with the county, and it's going to take 7 months to get it done. It didn't work. I like your idea. I would only suggest that we might want to ask people to pay to use it because you're using somebody's bandwidth, right? I mean, I pay for bandwidth into my house, and if you're operating a rig remotely, you're using up my bandwidth. So I would suggest, but it could
pay for their own bandwidth.
No.
Well, it's got to go into wherever the rig is sitting.
Wherever the
so
rig is located, you have to have
You
bandwidth.
can pay for the bandwidth.
We're talking
With that
about
rig.
peanuts here.
No, we're talking about, yeah, we are.
Even
Absolutely
so,
peanuts.
even like I was saying, even if we actually had an actual rig at a location, okay, I would be willing to pay like the $5-10 or whatever to get onto the
Yeah.
system. If you've got 5 other people behind me,
Right.
and you're paying $10, let's just say, to
Right.
get on to use the rig, that's $50 right there.
No, I get
That's
it.
minimum.
I get it.
A
No,
month
that's-
right there. They're
I think it's a very, very good idea. My only comment was, I would do it at my house, but I'd worry about my bandwidth. There's no such thing as enough bandwidth ever. I'd have to buy
Well,
more.
can I,
No, you wouldn't buy more.
Well, somebody would buy more.
The club
Right.
would buy more, because
can,
that's a pitch.
can I just suggest that it's such a
We don't
big,
have- Look, we don't have to have a great big committee, we don't have to have the board go through a whole year doing this.
Yeah.
It's easy, just put up one thing for 4 or 5 months, and, you know, it's like throwing Jello on the wall, does
Right.
it stick?
Right.
So just do this and see what happens.
Right. Did you? Yeah.
Well, what I was gonna say is, any piece of technology, has a maintenance cycle to it.
Yeah.
You just don't put up a radio station without having.
But you can put it up for 6 months to see if people use it.
Well, no,
Right.
but what I'm saying is, somebody may have to reboot the computer, somebody may have to make sure that the.
Of course.
There has to be, an assignment of a part of the group that's gonna be doing that on a regular basis.
No, and if we acted like a business, we would charge people to use it, and the charges would include a sink fund so that when the life cycle of the radio was done, we had money in the bank to buy a new radio. You know, we could do it. And we're talking about $5. We're not talking about $100. We're
We're
talking
not
about.
talking about any of that yet, all we have to do is say, can we do it?
Yeah.
Will it work? Yeah, it will work, okay, now let's start thinking about organizing. Let's
Okay, I'll take that a step further. Maybe we should be partnering with maybe like the RIT amateur radio clubs. They have free bandwidth. They have antennas on the roof. They have radios. Maybe we should partner with them.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Right?
That's a great
And,
idea.
and throw them something. Donate $50 to their club every year or something.
Pretty small there.
Yeah.
That just had more people.
Well, the biggest problem, and I think that Gary would agree with me, the biggest problem with college radio clubs is you got people leaving and people going all the time.
Yeah.
So you can't get any sort of organization happening because you got people whose primary reason for being there is to study and learn, and it's very, very expensive to go there.
That's why.
And
I thought it was about beer and
Yeah,
sex.
that's
amateur
right.
radio is a hobby.
Yeah, no, the way you circumvent that problem that students are always sloughing off is you get the faculty advisor involved.
Just get Jim involved, right?
Yeah, he or she would make sure it work. Yeah.
So
I'll
I-
volunteer.
You're probably the most recent member of K2GXT in this whole crowd.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah, so I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that club, actually.
Yeah.
And, years ago, we sold off all of the old rigs that we had, for Jim's plan to buy a TS-2000 so that it could be operated
Right.
remotely.
Right.
I don't know why that radio is not on the air right now.
Yeah, why hasn't that happened? Because I heard a lot of talk about that.
That's the one that's up on,
Westfall Road.
the last I heard, you bought a used one, right?
Nope.
That's not the one that's up on the desk up in the radio center? Up
Okay.
at Jim's desk?
It shouldn't be at Jim's desk because it's property of K2.
Well, I know it's not on Jim's
No, I was
desk. I've been in his office.
ago, it's not that.
Up on Jim's desk?
Yeah, he's talking about a different Jim.
Oh,
okay.
well, whatever.
Well, anyways,
Can we get a radio installed here?
No.
no,
That's, so,
I guess not.
I don't
we've
wanna,
pursued that.
I don't wanna sound dismissive.
Okay.
We tried really hard,
All
and
right.
even the local Boy Scouts, like the people that are in this building wanted to do it, but because the people in this building can't make decisions about the physical building,
Oh,
they
I
wouldn't let us
understand.
put up an antenna.
Gotcha.
I was on their first web design, and they had basically vice president in charge of toilet paper.
Yeah.
And everything straight on up. They couldn't do anything without consulting the vice president in charge
So-
of this, that, and the other thing.
So
We were gonna try
consistent.
and block off a corner over here to keep equipment in, and then have a tap here. but-
They actually offered us the closet, right, to keep equipment, but we couldn't put an antenna.
Right.
Doesn't
well,
move
if you can't
anything.
put an
So,
antenna up, then.
Yeah.
why don't I suggest that somebody takes charge of that? Instead of asking the board of directors to do yet another thing, why doesn't somebody think about where we can put a remote rig? I think K2GXT is the solution, I really do.
Yeah.
They've got space, they have free bandwidth, free electricity.
They already have antennas in
They have
here.
antennas on the roof of the SAU, right? About
The-
300 miles of feed line because they're in
Center
that.
bed might be broken.
Yeah, but it can be fixed though.
Of course.
Right?
And we could, I would personally bankroll that, I don't care.
Right? I think people would. That's a good idea. Well, I'd like to see somebody volunteer to help with that, I mean, because there's limited, limited time,
I
pardon?
want the hands on, they don't want remote.
So we can do both.
If you wanna do remote ham radio, you pay $100 a year, you go online.
We can
and
do
you
both.
RHR.
Well,
And you got a freaking class station.
To be all to end all, that's one way to get several things done.
That's the way I see it.
But real Elmering and real getting people getting their real radios on and their own homes, that's another thing.
We have 500 members, we can do both. We can easily put up a remote rig and have a club station. And we can afford it, we've got the human resources to do it, we can easily do both.
do any of these remote rig outfits that sell that stuff relabel or white label? That you can, RaRa can get a contract with them and,
So I'll tell you, I recently bought a ICOM 7300. It was $1,000, and for $100 you get remote software. You can actually turn the radio off and on with the remote.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's $1,100, right? We should be able to do that. Yeah.
There's a website online called Remote Ham Radio.
Yep.
And there's about,
There's a lot.
for $100 a year,
Yeah.
you could probably talk to the guy, he'd probably take any money we'd give him, anybody would give him. But he has, there's at least 7 or 8 stations, and these are class stations, these are all K2s, LCRATs or K3s. They all have amplifiers up to 500 watts.
Big antennas.
They're all towered, they have software to turn the antenna with.
Turn the rotor, yeah.
You got the one with the rotator, you can rotate the antenna, you see where it's gonna go.
So how many club members do you think would use that?
Oh, I think
That I
a lot
don't
of-
know.
I think a lot of people would use
Well,
it.
so it's $100 a piece. So it's
But you might be able to talk.
well, that's what I was wondering about, whether or not the club could get a group type of a thing and then promote it and portal it.
Or if we got
That might
like
work.
4 licenses, four accesses, and provided that access, and 4 people be.
If they let you do that.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary, and take it for what it's worth, okay, as a non-technical person over here, engineers can think of millions of answers to millions of problems and millions of times to do it, but we have to just, I think what he said, you know, get something going.
Yeah.
And then, maybe then start to debug it, as opposed to trying to get the perfect solution, before we even get an idea.
So what
of
I've
what's gonna
heard,
be
so
done.
I think we should pursue both. It's easy enough to set up a remote rig, we just gotta figure out where to put it, and someone is willing to host it.
We've tried that, I think, for, well, as long as I've been around.
I know, but I think it's easier to set up a club station. We have the equipment, we just need a space. So maybe we should put a lot of effort into finding a space.
I think a lot of times we haven't done things because people haven't felt empowered to do it.
Yeah,
And I think, in fact, if one of us was so cheeky as to do this and not tell anybody, and then come to a meeting.
Wouldn't that be cool?
And say, I just did this for you, everybody goes, oh.
It's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than it is
Well,
permission sometimes.
okay. And there are people who do that. Back in the packet radio days, I won't name them, you probably all know them. An economics professor from, well anyways, one of the SUNYs, came and talked to us about his automated satellite station. It was the coolest thing I ever saw. I paid for a VHS tape of him demonstrating it. One of the club members just did it. Didn't talk to the club, just did it. And came back like 2 months later and said, look what I did. And it's like, wow. So yeah, so that can be done, for sure.
Now, Bill, you work at Nazareth.
Not anymore. He doesn't work.
Yeah, your dreams. I've been retired for 4 years.
Oh, have you?
I don't miss it, but I miss the teaching.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Are any of the members here members of the maker spaces? Because from what I understand, they have ham radio stations.
Is that true?
I know
Some
they.
of them might.
No,
Yeah.
Manchester Makerspace.
Yeah.
We did have a club station there, and the building, we leased a space, and the building owner said we could put antennas up on the roof. And he said he'd do it for us, but we waited a year for him to do it. We
Didn't
never
happen.
did, and then we needed the space for some 3D printers and stuff. So that could still be pursued.
Yeah.
Because he didn't say no, he just was really busy.
You know, we have 500 members. Doesn't anybody own any real estate? And doesn't anybody own a building? You know?
Did 3 or 4 of them.
Shouldn't Monroe County
See.
offer a space somewhere for us?
If there was only maybe a.
So 111 Westfall Road,
Well,
we used to use and then it went away.
Well, I mean, there's other buildings that they have, don't you think, they can help us out a little bit, since we're a big part of this community?
I don't know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I do think it's perhaps time that we put a little article in the RaRa saying, if anyone knows of the real estate.
Why don't we do that?
And also put in a proposal.
Yeah, well, we
Not,
have
so this way
to,
they would know.
we also would have to list a set of criteria. I mean,
Right.
for example, the other side of this wall seems like a good idea. I already mentioned the antenna issue. In the town of Brighton, you have to have double door exits everywhere. You have to have bathroom facilities for everyone. So by the time you renovate that side of the building,
Yeah, the
you
build-out's
bankrupt
$10,000,
the
yeah.
club. So there's some requirements that we have to put in there, but that's a good point. We could.
The one I offered has all of that stuff, along with 3 conference rooms.
It's not available anymore?
Huh? Yes, it's available right now if you want it.
Where's that?
Huh? That's why I said it was 3 months, try it. If you don't like it, fine.
You kept saying was.
No, I say it is.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
$300, try it for nothing.
I know.
To begin with.
Well, let's,
All
okay,
right.
so we're gonna